Christmas demon, dirge of winter, devourer of children, Krampus. The Feast of St. Nicholas is celebrated in various parts of Europe on December 6th. However, the fifth night, Krampusnacht, belongs to the devil Krampus. Krampus is a darkness that lurks within Christmas, an ancient force created to punish wicked children who defy their parents and cause mayhem. But what happens to darkness when it outlives its purpose? When the perceived blessings of immortality and the eternal glory of bloodshed begins to take weight even when the sinister. This tale is one of many in Hellboy's life, where he must face the remains of the evils from the old world and put them in their place, lest they roam forever torturing the innocent and themselves. In a small village, at a local church, a horrific event had taken place. A man by the name of Wilhelm Schultz walked into the church and almost destroyed everything with an unholy power. He didn't hurt anyone, and the church was mostly empty. He simply displayed his dark aura and walked away. Strangely enough, the reports would reach Hellboy, who was in the area at the time for another investigation. Hellboy immediately went to question Wilhelm at his home, a bit away from the village. During his journey, he came across a ghost woman who stalked him throughout the woods. She approached Hellboy and begged him to save her child. Before Hellboy could get wind of who she was and what was going on, the ghost woman was gone, and in her place, a toy elephant, buried in the snow, eaten away by time. The voice of an old man called out to him, and it was here that he was finally met with Wilhelm, just a few feet away, waving from his old home in the middle of the barren woodlands. It turns out, upon entering, that Wilhelm had expected Hellboy. He knew he would come if he made his power known at the church. He wanted him for dinner. But why? Why go through all of this just to summon Hellboy? What was his end goal? And while Hellboy didn't much care for dinner, he at least entertained Wilhelm with a drink. And in the usual Hellboy fashion, he got down to business. You told Father Muller that you aren't really human. In fact, you claimed to be this guy. He would then pull out a classic depiction of the Christmas deity known as Krampus. Wilhelm looks on at it with a faint smile and responds, "It's not a very good likeness. There should be a lot more blood." Now, Hellboy, being a son of Pandemonium, is still very much unconvinced of this Wilhelm being Krampus. The being Krampus has never even appeared before in any of his expeditions, so why would some random old occultist claim to be him? He doubted Wilhelm, so he would have to convince Hellboy by more abstract means. He broke the shrouded glass window of a cabinet, revealing a number of dusty skulls, small, the size of children. He passed a skull to Hellboy, whereupon touching it gave him a glimpse of his many victims, and the sight of a small boy holding a toy elephant, screaming for his mother before a terrible force snuffs him out. It was here that Wilhelm would reveal his true form as being the one true Krampus.
Hellfire, smoke, and pandemonium. Do you remember the place? I don't, though I know I was born there. So what crime did I commit to be sent here? This cold world, this prison. What could I have done to deserve this? And how long am I bound to stay? You have been here barely a minute, while I have endured hundreds and hundreds of years. Krampus, they named me. And Krampus, I have been. Long enough. I am tired of it. kill me and send me home.
Life as we know it may be bliss, but in the eyes of a demon, a creature whose nature belongs to pandemonium's fire, may eventually take issue with the colds of winter, the warmth of sun, and the songs of spring. It could all grow to become nothing but agony. Krampus, the almighty demon of Christmas, was asking for a release, a death fit for a devil, in hopes of returning to a cold darkness, only whispered in ritual and prayer. Hellboy, being the no-nonsense guy that he is, obliged to the demon's request and opened fire, but his bullets were useless. He can't die like a man dies. Not even Hellboy's fists could send him to the great darkness. While Krampus had Hellboy by the throat, he was transported to a sort of spiritual purgatory, a limbo most likely created by the amassed death of children on those very grounds. Cold and covered with snow, this purgatory was filled with the ghosts of dead children. They began to surround Hellboy, only echoing their final pleas. Innocent souls taken by the politics of the supernatural. One child, holding a knife, approached him. "He's just so tired," the ghost child said. "Help him." These children are not angered with the Krampus, but instead they feel sorrow, not only for themselves, but for Krampus. Maybe in death they finally understood his pain in this sort of Stockholm afterlife. And so Hellboy took the knife and stabbed Krampus in the chest. He was free at last, the bones in the house pouring onto the floor and the walls crashing to the snow. But where Krampus thought he was going to hell, a harsh reality would break his delusions of heritage. Krampus would begin to vanish, not into fire and brimstone, but into the corpse of a simple goat. Hellboy's work was finally finished, but the mystery would remain. Hellboy would explain all of this in his debriefing back at the BPRD. Professor Burtonholm, Hellboy's father and boss, had actually studied ancient tales of Krampus in the past. His colleague had argued that Krampus was the demon goat of the witches' Sabbath, done up in fancy dress for the holidays. Historically, the witches' Sabbath was an event where witches would gather to cast rituals and consort with demons. Allegedly. The professor's argument against this theory was that Krampus was actually the Scandinavian Yule goat, Joulupuki, a pre-Christian goat man and alternate version of Father Christmas. Whatever the origin, one thing is certain. This beast was no demon of hell, but quite possibly the plaything of witches long dead, a left-behind curse. And curses are fickle things. They can evolve past their purpose. Fueled by legends and tradition, this curse grew to not only embody his temporary purpose, but also grew insane with delusions of grandeur, thinking that he was anything other than the corpse of a goat, cursed by witches for their own festivities. The moments before his death must have been more frightening than he could ever realize, for his salvation lied in the one place he was trying to escape: life. But he really had to go, though. He had to go. He had to get up out of here.